All right, Coach, year 2 as head coach here at Brooks County. What's been the biggest difference for you coming into this offseason?
Well, we really feel like the greatest amount of growth happens between year 0 and year 1. And I felt like we had a really good year last year. I felt like there were some areas that we could improve. And one of those was physical strength, and then the other was mental strength. And so we put a lot of effort into, the weight room, building our strength this offseason from January through May. It was a lot of heavy lifting and trying to build our numbers up. And then we've worked with some sports psychologists out of Florida State who are working with us every week. They'll be at every game, and that's kind of helping build the mental strength of the team and allowing them to, just really giving them a toolbox to dip into when things get tough to mentally get themselves through some things.
When you think about last year's journey, coming in year 1, a lot of times coaches talk about it just goes by so fast, it's a blur. What was your biggest takeaway from your perspective on last year's run to the state championship?
Last year I think just the biggest thing that I learned was that, it's really, you've got to have guys on your team who are echoing and, saying the same thing that your coaches are, and you've got to get investment from your players. And when you've got leadership that are, an extension of myself or of our coordinators on the field, that really helps to have solid leadership, and it helps to have guys who, are able to help, not just from a, hey, you need to be here, you need to be there, like a coach's standpoint, but also being able to pick each other up and hold each other accountable.
Last year's team, young still. You guys are bringing back a lot of those returning players. You have some movement in some key positions. Trey Stevenson now getting some quarterback reps. You obviously mentioned one of the best athletes on the field.
Right.
What kind of dynamic does that give you guys offensively?
Yeah, he's just an electric football player. Whether he's at corner, receiver, running back, quarterback, it really doesn't matter. But, we looked at things and we were like, what gives us the best, opportunity to win and be successful? And we believe that getting the ball into one of our best athletes' hands every single play allows him to kind of distribute the ball a little bit, but also allows him to make plays. And he's got a phenomenal arm. He's very intelligent. He takes AP classes. He'll be graduating in December, so his intelligence speaks for itself. But then, being able to make plays with his legs and, do the things that, he's able to do at quarterback, it kind of takes you back to, 2021 when we had Jamal Sanders behind the center and, taking snaps where, yeah, you had to account for a running back, but now you also have to account for a quarterback in the run game. And, Trey just brings a whole nother level of athleticism and a whole nother dynamic to our offense.
He's also one of the more vocal guys on the team. I've already just been out here seeing him call out guys when they need to be called out, but also lift guys up when they need to be lifted up. What does that do for you as a head coach to have an extension of that leadership at the quarterback position?
Yeah, well, Trey and I met last year at the end of the season, and I said, Trey, I want you to look at the leadership that we had, take the good and build off of it, take the bad and use that as a non-example of what to do. And I said, let's work on just being the best leaders that we can be, because this is your last ride, and you got to see what it feels like to play in a championship, but you haven't won one. I said, and if we're going to win it, we're going to win it on the back of guys like you and George and these other guys who are good playmakers. I said, but we've got to step up our leadership ability, and he has fully been invested in that, and he's done it nonstop from the end of the game in December all the way to today. He's just been that great leader that we need. So,
in true Brooks County fashion, you guys always schedule one of the toughest non-region schedules, and you did that again this year. You're at Pierce, you got Thomasville, you got Worth County, who's going to be really good this year, Cook. What goes into that mindset of scheduling that tough non-region schedule, knowing that your region is so tough?
Well, we want to be battle tested. I think that's the biggest thing. We got into the Manchester game last year, and we're preparing for it, and we get to looking at it and we say, these guys do a lot of the same things that Fitzgerald and Pierce did. I said, so how can we go back and look at those games? And we did. We sat down with the team and we looked back at the Fitzgerald game and the Pierce game, and we said, here's a physical, downhill, a lot of guys in the box, tough running football team. I said, how can we correct the mistakes that we made? And, we look against Fitzgerald, we made a lot of bad mistakes, a lot of misfits on defense, a lot of things that we missed offensively. And so we said, for us to be successful, we're going to have to be able to correct those mistakes. And so to see our guys kind of flip that on its head in Manchester and be able to hold them to, such a, I think it was, 14 points. To hold them to 14 points was big because they had a dynamic backfield. But to be able to do that, I totally chalked that up to playing really tough non-region opponents.
Coach Speak says one game at a time.
Yeah.
Never overlook an opponent. But what is it going to take for the Trojans to get back to Mercedes-Benz this year?
We've got to play to our potential. I don't know that there's a more talented group in single A D2 when you look at just the athleticism, and we've got a lot of guys getting college offers and a lot of guys getting some exposure. So it's our job as coaches to remind them that, look, just because you get to put an Instagram post up with a bunch of colleges around you, that doesn't mean that you've made it. We're a team goal-focused team. We're a process-driven team. We don't want to be results-driven. So we really don't talk very much about winning games or playing for championships. We talk about correcting mistakes, and we talk about being the best that we can be, and how can we clean up the things that we're doing. And there's days where we have a practice from the outside looking in. It looks really good because energy may be up and we may be making plays. But then when we start looking at film, we're, man, you missed this. Gosh, we didn't do that right. We got to fix this. And so it's just being able to go back and having our kids fully invested in the idea of being the best that they can be, rep after rep after rep.
Well, you guys are probably going to be the hunted here in South Georgia as far as the single A Division II classification, and we know we're looking forward to watching you guys make another run at it.
Yes, sir.
I
Go
appreciate
Trojans.
you, Coach.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.